Before you even think about clicking away, pause for a second and imagine this: a massive stage, bright lights, a silent crowd holding its breath, and a man who looks like he doesn't belong there at all. No flashy outfit. No celebrity confidence. Just a quiet Filipino man standing in front of Simon Cowell, about to open his mouth and change everything. If you love stories that prove dreams don't have an expiration date, stay with this video until the very end. And if this story moves you even a little, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be heard. His name is Mateo Cruz. He's 38 years old, born and raised in a small coastal town in Cebu, Philippines. Most of his life has passed without applause, without recognition, without anyone calling him special. By day, Mateo works in a warehouse, operating a forklift, lifting heavy crates under harsh fluorescent lights. His hands are rough, his back often sore, and his days blend into one another. He earns just enough to survive, just enough to help his mother with bills, just enough to keep going. Dreams were never part of the plan, because dreams cost money, and Mateo never had any to spare. But when night falls, when the world finally quiets down, something different happens. In his small rented room with pale walls and a single window, Mateo turns on an old radio. The sound crackles, imperfect and nostalgic. And then he sings. Softly at first. Then with more confidence. Not for an audience. Not for fame. Just for himself. And for the memory of his father. Mateo's love for music began when he was a child. His father was a fisherman, a simple man who believed music made hard days easier. While fixing nets or cleaning equipment, his father would hum Elvis Presley songs about love, loss, and longing. When Mateo was only 13, his father passed away suddenly, leaving the family broken emotionally and financially. The house felt empty. The silence felt unbearable. And in that silence, Elvis's voice became Mateo's comfort. Every song felt like a conversation with the father he lost. As the years passed, reality took over. Mateo left school early to work and support his family. Singing became something private, almost secret. People around him said talent wasn't enough. They said success was for the lucky, the rich, the connected. Mateo believed them. He never imagined himself on a stage. He never imagined Simon Cowell knowing his name. He imagined survival and nothing more. Until one evening changed everything. After a long shift at work, Mateo came home exhausted. His sister was sitting on the floor, watching audition clips from Pilipinas Got Talent on her phone. Contestants cried, laughed, failed, and succeeded in front of millions. Mateo barely paid attention until his sister looked up at him and said, "Why aren't you there?" He laughed it off. The idea felt impossible, even embarrassing. Him? On national television? In front of international judges? But that night, as he lay awake listening to the sound of distant traffic and ocean waves, the question wouldn't leave his mind. Why not him? What if this was his only chance? What if staying silent was the real failure? The decision terrified him. But sometimes, courage isn't about confidence, it's about moving forward despite fear. The audition day arrived faster than he expected. Mateo stood in line with hundreds of hopeful performers. Young singers with perfect smiles. Dancers with sharp moves. Confident faces everywhere. Mateo felt invisible. He wore a simple button-down shirt, dark pants, and shoes borrowed from a cousin. His hands shook. His heart raced. Several times, he thought about leaving. No one would notice. No one would blame him. But then his number was called. Walking onto the stage felt unreal. The lights were blinding. The audience was a blur. And then he saw them, the judges. And sitting there, arms crossed, expression unreadable, was Simon Cowell. Known for his brutal honesty. Known for ending dreams with a single sentence. Mateo swallowed hard. He introduced himself. His voice trembled. He said he worked in a warehouse. Polite nods followed. Nothing special. Simon asked what he would sing. Mateo hesitated for a moment, then said, "An Elvis song." The reaction was subtle but clear. Another Elvis singer. Another imitation. Simon leaned back slightly, already skeptical. The music started. And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. Mateo didn't try to copy Elvis's voice or movements. He didn't exaggerate the accent. He didn't perform, he felt. His voice was deep, warm, and rich with emotion. Every note carried years of struggle, loss, and quiet hope. The room changed instantly. The audience leaned forward. Conversations stopped. Judges sat up straighter. Simon Cowell's expression shifted. As Mateo sang, the song felt less like entertainment and more like a confession. His voice wasn't perfect in a polished way, it was perfect in a human way. It cracked slightly with emotion. It soared when it needed to. It told a story that words alone couldn't explain. Before the song even ended, applause broke out. Real applause. The kind that comes from shock and recognition. When Mateo finished, silence hung in the air for a split second, then the entire theater erupted into a standing ovation. Simon Cowell stood up. That single moment changed Mateo's life forever. Simon walked closer to the stage, his face serious but impressed. He said he had heard many Elvis-style singers before, but this was different. He said Mateo didn't imitate Elvis, he reminded everyone why Elvis mattered. He called the performance honest, emotional, and unforgettable. For Mateo, those words felt heavier than any trophy. Because for the first time in his life, someone truly saw him. Backstage, Mateo cried uncontrollably. Years of self-doubt poured out all at once. He thought of his father. He thought of his mother watching from a neighbor's house. He thought of all the nights he sang alone, believing no one would ever listen. But the journey wasn't over. As the competition continued, the pressure increased. Online comments questioned his age, his appearance, his chances. Younger contestants dominated social media. There were nights Mateo felt like quitting. Nights he wondered if that first performance was the peak. But every time he stepped onto the stage, he remembered why he was there. He wasn't singing to win. He was singing to honor the life he lived and the people who shaped him. Each performance revealed a new side of him. One song showed vulnerability. Another showed strength. Judges stopped seeing him as a novelty. They saw him as an artist. By the semifinals, Mateo was no longer invisible. For one performance, he chose a song that scared him. Slow. Exposed. No place to hide. As he sang, the audience grew quiet again. When he finished, Simon didn't speak right away. He paused. Then he said, "This is why this show exists." Mateo advanced. Win or lose, he had already achieved something greater than victory. He proved that dreams don't belong only to the young. That talent doesn't disappear with age. That silence doesn't mean absence, it often means waiting. After the show, opportunities came. Interviews. Recordings. Invitations to perform. But Mateo remained grounded. He returned home. Hugged his mother. Visited his father's grave. And sang one last song, not for fame, not for judges, but for the man who started it all. And here's why this story matters to you. Somewhere right now, someone watching this video believes it's too late. That they missed their chance. That life decided their path already. Mateo believed that too, until one moment of courage changed everything. If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs hope today. Because sometimes, all it takes is one voice, one moment, one decision to turn a lifetime of silence into something unforgettable. Mateo Cruz didn't just stun Simon Cowell. He reminded the world that ordinary people can carry extraordinary gifts and that it's never too late to let your voice be heard. No flashy confidence. No dramatic entrance. Just a voice waiting to be heard. If stories of hidden talent, second chances, and jaw-dropping moments move your heart, then stay right here till the very end. And if this story touches you even a little, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be shared. His name was Mateo Cruz, a 38-year-old forklift operator from a small coastal town in Cebu. By day, his hands were rough from work, lifting crates under the burning sun. By night, when the world finally quieted down, he sang to an old radio in his rented room. Not for fame. Not for money. Just to feel alive. Elvis Presley had been his escape ever since he was a child. When Mateo's father passed away, leaving the family with nothing but debt and grief, Elvis's songs became the only thing that made this silence bearable. His father used to hum "Can't Help Falling in Love" while fixing fishing nets, and after he was gone, Mateo carried those melodies like memories he refused to let die. Life didn't give Mateo many choices. Dreams were expensive, and survival was not. He quit school early to support his mother and younger sister. Every peso went to food, rent, or medicine. Singing was something he did in secret, afraid people would laugh at a grown man chasing a boyhood dream. In the Philippines, people told him, talent alone was never enough. You needed money, connections, luck. Mateo had none of those. What he did have was a voice that made neighbors stop walking when they heard it through thin walls late at night. One evening, after a particularly exhausting shift, Mateo came home to find his sister watching Pilipinas Got Talent auditions on a cracked phone screen. Contestants laughed, cried, failed, and succeeded in front of millions. His sister looked at him and said softly, "Kuya, why not you?" He laughed at first. The idea felt ridiculous. Simon Cowell? International judges? A global stage? That world wasn't meant for someone like him. But that night, as he lay awake listening to the hum of traffic and distant waves, something inside him refused to be quiet. For the first time in years, fear and hope collided. The audition day arrived faster than he expected. Mateo almost turned back at the door. The waiting room was full of young singers with perfect hair, dancers with sharp moves, and performers who looked born for the spotlight. Mateo felt invisible. He wore a simple button-down shirt, borrowed shoes slightly too big for his feet, and carried no backing track, no gimmick, no story prepared. Just his voice. When his number was called, his hands trembled so badly he had to clasp them together. The stage lights were blinding. The audience blurred into shadows. Then he saw the judges. And there was Simon Cowell, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Mateo's heart pounded so loud he was sure the microphones could hear it. He introduced himself, voice shaking, and said he worked in a warehouse. A few polite nods. Nothing special. Simon asked what he would sing. Mateo hesitated, then said, "An Elvis song." A few raised eyebrows. Simon leaned forward slightly, skeptical. Another Elvis impersonator, perhaps. The kind that tries too hard and delivers nothing new. The music started. And then, everything changed. Mateo didn't imitate Elvis. He didn't force the accent or the swagger. Instead, he sang with a deep, soulful tone that felt timeless. His voice carried pain, love, loss, and hope all at once. Every note felt lived in, as if each lyric had been carved from his own life. The audience slowly leaned forward. Whispers faded. Even the judges' expressions shifted. Simon's eyebrows lifted. His posture changed. He wasn't judging anymore, he was listening. By the time Mateo reached the chorus, something extraordinary happened. The crowd erupted into applause in the middle of the song. Not the polite kind. The stunned, emotional kind. Some people wiped tears from their eyes. Mateo's voice soared, controlled yet raw, powerful yet gentle. It wasn't just singing. It was storytelling through sound. When the final note hung in the air and faded into silence, there was a brief moment where no one moved. Then the entire theater exploded into a standing ovation. Simon Cowell stood up. That alone felt unreal. Simon, known for crushing dreams with a single sentence, looked genuinely shaken. He walked closer to the stage and said something that would later go viral across social media. He said Mateo didn't just sing an Elvis song, he reminded everyone why Elvis mattered in the first place. He called the performance authentic, emotional, and unforgettable. For Mateo, those words hit harder than any applause. For the first time in his life, someone powerful had seen him, not as a worker, not as a nobody, but as an artist. Backstage, Mateo cried. Not quiet tears. The kind that shake your whole body. He thought of his father. His mother watching from a neighbor's house. His sister screaming at the phone. Years of doubt, sacrifice, and silence finally had a voice. But the journey didn't end there. Fame doesn't erase fear overnight. In the next rounds, Mateo faced younger contestants, pressure, online criticism, and the terrifying thought that maybe this moment was as good as it would ever get. There were nights he wanted to quit. Comments questioned his age. His look. His chances. But every time he stepped on stage, he remembered where he came from. He sang not to impress, but to connect. Each performance grew stronger. Each song told a different chapter of his life. Slowly, the narrative changed. Mateo wasn't just the Elvis guy anymore. He was the heart of the competition. When the semifinals arrived, the stakes felt unbearable. One mistake could end everything. Mateo chose a song that scared him, slower, more exposed, leaving nowhere to hide. As he sang, the room fell silent again. When he finished, Simon didn't speak immediately. He paused. Then he said something simple but powerful, "This is why this show exists." The crowd roared. Mateo advanced. Win or lose, Mateo had already won something far greater. He proved that dreams don't expire. That talent doesn't care about age, background, or bank balance. That sometimes, the quietest people carry the loudest gifts. After the show, opportunities came: recordings, interviews, concerts, but Mateo remained grounded. He went back home, hugged his mother, and visited his father's grave to sing one last song. And here's the truth that makes this story matter to you. Somewhere out there, someone is watching this video thinking their dream is too late, too impossible, too unrealistic. Mateo was that person once. Until he wasn't. If this story inspired you even a little, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel, because every like helps stories like this reach someone who needs hope today. Mateo's voice didn't just stun Simon Cowell. It reminded the world that greatness can come from the most ordinary places. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment of courage to turn a lifetime of silence into a song the world will never forget.